What's up, everyone? It is Divine Duelist, and today I'm coming back at you guys with another deck profile. This deck profile is on the Paleo Frog deck profile, or Frog, whatever you guys want to call it. I call it Paleo Frogs because it's both. But yeah, I personally really like this deck. I took it to the June 2nd regionals at San Diego, and I did pretty well. I can't say I topped at all or anything, but it did manage to be a few current meta decks in the June 2018 format. I managed to be a 2 or 1 Sky Striker deck, a couple of Trick Stars. I can't say for hire is a meta deck, but you know, yeah, and some other decks. Gokis, by the way. Yeah, Gokis is actually really good. This is actually really good against Gokis. But yeah, hopefully you guys do enjoy, and if you do, hit that like button and also comment down below what you guys would like to see next. If you guys want me to build more decks, let me know and I'll try my best. Talking about this deck, I mostly make budget deck profiles. This deck is pretty budget. The only expensive things you'll have to worry about is pretty much just the extra deck. Everything else in this deck is really cheap. The deck alone is really cheap. And if you guys want, you guys don't have to get the Borderlord Dragon because I am running the Borderlord Dragon engine. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into this. So we're going to start off with our monsters. Let me just separate them. Okay, so we're going to start off with our monsters. For our monsters, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Swap Frog. Swap Frog's ability is actually really good. He's the main one you want to start off first. This deck is mainly built to go first, but if you go second, it's still good. Swap Frog's ability is you get to discard 1 water monster and special summon from your hand. If he's normal summon or special summon, you get to send 1 level 2 or lower aqua type monster from your deck to the graveyard, and you can return 1 monster you control to the hand to a normal summon in addition to a normal summon 1 frog monster in addition to a normal summon, except this one. So yeah, return 1 monster, normal summon another frog monster. So yeah, that's pretty good. I hardly use that ability though. I mostly use its special summon ability and whatnot. For our next monster, we're gonna have 3 copies of Dupe Frog, which is also another really good frog monster. All the frog monsters in here are good. There's basically only 2 frog monsters, but Ronin Toten's ability is good because while he's on the field, your opponent cannot target any other monsters on the field for attack except this one. And when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to add 1 level 2 or 1 frog monster from your deck to your hand. So that's good. But there's something else that can counter this in your deck, but it doesn't really matter. I've used this ability half of the time I was at regionals, but I hardly did because I hardly needed to. But yeah, and it's really good because if you have 2 Dupe Frogs on the field, your opponent basically can't attack any of your monsters. So yeah. 2 Ronin Toten. You don't need to have them at 3 because if you have them at 3, you mainly just want to send like 1 of each frog monster, and you only ever need 2 Ronin Totens. Yeah, his special ability: banish 1 frog monster from your deck, or 1 aqua type. You can banish 1 frog monster. Yes, you can banish 1 frog monster from your deck, from your graveyard. And special summon it and special summon it. For our last monster, we're gonna have 2 Zaphion the Time Lords. I felt like this one was really good in today's format, in the current format at least, because a lot of people are using back rows such as Sky Strikers. I don't see Gokis using it that much, but like Ultra Geist and whatnot. So if you attack with Zaphion at the end of the battle phase, you get to shuffle all spells and traps your opponent controls to the graveyard, to the deck. So yeah, that's pretty good. I found myself using this one a lot, especially in today's format. When it was June 2nd, a lot of people were using spells and traps, and even now people are still using it. So yeah, I feel like Zaphion is a really good card to add. But yeah, that does it for our monsters, and let's move on to our spells. Our spells, we don't have that much either. We have 6 spells in total. We start off with 3 Scapegoats, of course. I have 3 because 1, Borderlord Dragon, and also because people might negate it, and also to add some defense, because what if your opponent, manages to get rid of your whole board, and you can activate Scapegoat. And for our next 3 spells, Pot of Desires, which I don't have. I'll have them up here on the screen for those of you who don't know what Pot of Desires is. I have them in another deck currently, but yeah, Pot of Desires is actually really good. Not really good, but it's kind of risky, but it's still good if you want to get to your cards easier. I don't like it personally because there was a time where I banished all 3 of Swap Frogs in the tournament, but I still won, but it's just really risky using it, and you just want to use it to get to your cards quicker. That does it for our spells. Once again, I'll have Pot of Desires on the screen, just for those of you who are getting back into the game and want to build a semi budget deck, I guess. Yeah, I'll have it up here on the screen for those of you who are just getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, that does it for our spells, and let's move on to our trap cards. Now for our trap cards, we're going to start off with the trap cards that we have at 1, and then we'll move it up from there all the way up to the paleo traps. So our first trap, One Mistake, which I find myself using a lot, if I didn't banish it with Paleozoic, that is, but yeah, it's actually really good because a lot of decks do like to add to the hand nowadays. Next, Lost Wind, really good because almost everyone special summons in a deck. Whoever doesn't, what are they doing, right? I mean, everyone special summons. Lost Wind, negate the effects of a special summon monster and half its attack. And if your opponent special summons from the extra deck, you get to set it from your graveyard to the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. So it's pretty good. Solemn Judgment, no explanation needed. Compulsory Evacuation Device, I felt like I should put this at 3, but I felt like it was just right at 1 because I hardly used it, hardly needed it, and yeah, it was just there. And 2 Heavy Storm Dusters, better than heavy Twin Twisters because you just have to wait 1 turn and you don't have to discard. But yeah, it's just really good because during your opponent's, like, say end phase, if they set a like back row, 2 back row, activate Heavy Storm Duster, pretty good. And let's move on to our traps at 3. We're gonna start off with 3 Torrential Tributes. A really good card, especially like now that you're running frogs. Ronin Totem gets into the graveyard along with another frog monster. Just banish that frog monster next turn and special summon it. Next 3, Solemn Strike. Really useful card, used it a lot. Another really useful trap card I really liked using was Anti-Spell Fragrance. It was by far one of the best, besides Mistake, trap cards because it prevented Sky Strikers from activating anything and pretty much Trick Stars and just in general any deck that uses spell cards, it locks them out pretty much for 2 turns. So yeah, it was really good. Yeah, now let's move on to our Paleo cards. We're gonna start off with 1 Paleozoic Marilla, which you just use to get to your trap cards easier, such as Canadia, Deinonychus, and Olonoids, which is how I pronounce it. But you just want to get them easier because each Paleozoic trap card has an ability where you can special summon it from the graveyard if another trap is activated. So that includes your opponent activating the trap, and yeah, so that's why it's just really good. So if your opponent like activates a trap after you already sent them, you can once per chain you can special summon 1 token, 1 trap card from your deck from your graveyard to the field. So yeah, it's pretty good. And I'm just making more room over here if you guys don't mind. Yeah, so for our next Paleozoic trap card, Paleozoic Canadia. Let me just put Marilla back in here so you guys can see that. Paleozoic Canadia. Paleozoic Canadia's ability is that when it's activated, you get to set 1 face-up monster your opponent controls to defense position. Pretty good against Tyranno. I used it once against Tyranno. A Tyranno deck at, it wasn't at regionals, it was at another local one of my locals I go to. Yeah, activated this, worked really well because it pretty much Book of Wound him as well. And yeah, it's just really good. Olonoids or Olonoides, some people pronounce it differently. I've heard people who pronounce it Olonoides. I pronounce it Olonoids. Target 1 spell trap your opponent controls, destroy it. And yeah, all of them have the same ability where if they're in the graveyard, they get and a trap is activated, you get to special summon them once per chain, and they're unaffected by monster effects. Not only that, but they get banished when they leave the field. And for our last trap card here, we have Paleozoic Deinonychus, which I probably used more than any other Paleozoic trap card. Other than Olonoids, I think I used them both a lot. Because Deinonychus, you get to banish 1 face-up card your opponent controls and discard 1 card. So that was really good because a lot of cards now have effects that activate in the graveyard. So if you banish them, they can't activate. So yeah, it's really good because you can also discard like Ronin Totem if you have them in your hand, and then just go on from there. So yeah, it was a really good trap card that I used a lot. And yeah, that does it for our traps, and let's move on to our side deck. Okay, so for our side deck, we're going to start off with 1 copy of Camion the Time Lord. Hardly sided him in. I suggest you guys switch this out for another card. But if you guys want, this card is actually really good as well too. I sided him in for like a couple of rounds, but I hardly use them. His ability is still really good though. When he battles, you get to shuffle 1 card your opponent controls into the deck, and they can't activate anything in response to that. So basically they can't Solemn Strike it or pretty much negate its effects. So that's really good about that too. They can't Ghost Ogre either, but who uses Ghost Ogre nowadays? I mean, Ghost Ogre is pretty much out of date now, so yeah, I mean, it's used, sometimes it's cited by some people, but I mean, no one used it against me, hardly. For our next monster, we're gonna have, of course, everyone searches after this one now, Winged Dragon of Raw Stream Mode. Mostly used against Gokis and other decks such as Pendulum Magicians, which I didn't go up against. Someone else I know went up against. But yeah, still, a lot of people are building big boards now, and whenever they just think they have their board ready, Winged Dragon of Raw Stream Mode, get out of here. Just troll them completely and get them angry. And yeah, it's just a really good card. Really loved it. Came in handy so many times. And yeah, next card, which I hardly used, Mind Crush. I hardly used the card. I mean, I like it, but it's just not really necessary because you see your opponent always adds card to the hand. So I hardly use it. I probably only use it in one round and that's it. Hardly use this one too. Dimensional Barrier. Hardly used it. Wankington Dragon, which I'll show you guys why I have it later on. Pretty sure everyone has it to summon the same monster. I don't know, but someone suggested I should add a card to my extra deck, and I did. Red Reboot, hardly use it too. I suggest you guys could put this at 3 for 2 other Mind Crush. And last but not least, Solemn Warning, which I did side in a couple times because a lot of people did summon, and on summon they get to activate abilities. So yeah, activated that, and it actually helped quite a lot. Yeah, most of these side deck cards like Mind Crush, it's hard to use, but I felt like adding Mind Crush was actually a pretty good asset because a lot of people add to their hand, and once they add to their hand, you can activate Mind Crush and target that card's name, and then they get to discard it. So yeah, it's pretty good. Now let's move on to our extra deck. Our extra deck, of course, consists of 3 totally awesome. I mean, what's this deck without 3 totally awesome, right? Best card in the extra deck, in my opinion, other than another extra deck card that I'll show you. But yeah, when it's during each standby phase, you get to detach 1 Exceeds material, special summon 1 frog monster from your deck. So that's how you get into Dupe Frog. And if you have 2, your opponent can't attack. And if your opponent activates an ability, a monster effect, a spell, or card, you get to negate it by destroying 1 frog monster, and you get to set it to your field after destroying it. So that in my opinion is really good because say they activate like a Sky Striker, like the Engage card that Sky Strikers have. You get to negate it and set it to your field for the next turn. So I felt like that was a really good asset to add for Totally Awesome. Next, Paleozoic Opobinia. Hardly use it. It's mainly used just to activate Paleozoic traps from your hand. Anomalocarius, I think I'm pronouncing that right, just to destroy your opponent's cards. And for the Waking the Dragon, Ultimate Falcon, which I did summon up against this Chickstar deck, and he scooped as soon as I summoned him. So it was pretty good. Cat Shark went into it to increase Totally Awesome's abilities. A really good card. I felt like I should have added. I felt like I added in here. And creds to one of my friends. His name is Gio. He actually lent me most of these cards in his deck, as well as another friend of mine named Tony. They lended me most of these cards here, and he has this card in the extra deck, as well as the Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin. They helped me really well because Cursed Javelin helped me get into time a lot, and Cat Shark just pushed for more damage. So it was really good. Next card, Tumis Starboy. Goes without question, your deck is mainly water monsters, and yeah. For a Borlo Dragon, 2 Link Spiders because Link Karibo is too expensive. 2 Mrs. Radiant, just for the other scapegoat, like the other scapegoats they have, you can summon out another Mrs. Radiant, and of course, Borlo Dragon. I got into Borlo Dragon quite a lot. Like I went against a for hire deck, and I was able to bring up for Borlo Dragon, a Cat Shark, and Totally Awesome. So yeah, I kind of completely wrecked for hires, and the guy kind of looked sad at the end. I felt bad, but I was like, you know what? I just wrecked him. It's too easy. Paleos all the way. They're pretty good. There's some really good decks out there that did beat my deck, but it's just Paleos are really good. But yeah, that does it for the deck profile, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy, and if you did, hit that like button and let me know in the comments down below what you guys would like to see next, and possibly what decks you guys would like me to build next. I'll see if I can do it. I'm still a bit of a budget player. Luckily, I have friends and family who can buy me this stuff and are willing to. And yeah, shout out to my friends Joe and Tony, who did lend me most of these cards in the deck. Yeah, huge shout out to them. I wouldn't have been able to use the deck without them. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time.